Shalom and welcome, everyone. In the Ethics of the Fathers, Pirkei Avos, that we're going to be reading this coming week, the sixth chapter, the fourth Mishnah in Pirkei Avos reads, "This is the way to acquire Torah: eat bread with salt, drink water in small measure, sleep on the ground, live a life of deprivation, and toil in the Torah. If you do this, you shall be happy, and it shall be well with you. You shall be happy in this world, and it shall be well with you in the world to come." Well, you know that there are two ways of living. One is a way of poverty, and the other is the way of wealth. Certainly, today we're living a time, for the most part, a time of wealth, where everything is there for us. In previous epidemics, just food on the table and bare necessities of life were very, very scarce. But today, all you need to do is call up your local grocers or your grocery delivery services, of which there are many, and you can get whatever you want. Today, there's no reason for us to go hungry, for us to not have what we need. You need something, you can dial up Amazon, or you can just order food, whatever you want, and it's there within hours. Can you imagine in the great epidemics of the late 1800s, the bubonic plague, or any of these other epidemics, that life was so cushy, that it was so comfortable and so relaxing and so wealthy? Never in our wildest dreams. Well, you know, the challenge that presents itself from poverty is more of a external challenge. You don't have food on the table. You don't have the basic necessities of life. Okay, so that's a problem. By doing that, it's life is a little more difficult, and it's harder to devote energy to divine service if you're hungry, obviously. But I think that the challenge of wealth is much harder. While our stomach is full and all of our needs are taken care of, to think about God, to think about spiritual things, to think about mitzvos and prayer and Torah study can be much more difficult. We're totally involved in our physical, material existence. It becomes much harder to serve God and to experience spirituality if we are wealthy. And indeed, today that is really the challenge of life. You know, the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, used to have two types of garments. He used to have garments of white linen, which were similar to the garments that we are buried in, plain white linen. And he also had the garments of gold, the Bigdei Zahav, which were beautiful, fine crafted golden garments as well. And these both represented the service of poverty and the service of wealth. And in fact, my friends, you know, the difference between poverty and wealth isn't so different. Today you can be poor, tomorrow you can win the lottery. Today you can be rich, tomorrow you can go broke and become bankrupt. So many companies today and so many people today that had such a good life and such a wealthy, comfortable life are now struggling terribly because they have no work or they have no clients, they have no business, and they couldn't have imagined what it would have been like many years ago to be in this situation. They couldn't believe. Here I have a beautiful home with a big mortgage, which I'm, thank God, paying every month. How could it turn around for me? What could happen? And indeed, I know many people myself who are in that situation, who are on the verge of poverty, who are on the verge of bankruptcy, who never believed that it could happen to them. God, in fact, the life that we are living is very tenuous. Who knows what could be tomorrow? We have no idea. We know one thing. We know that we have to do what we have to do, and the rest is up to God. Ultimately, it's all up to God what's going to happen. A story is told of a Jew in the concentration camps during World War II. That he stood up to pray the Mincha afternoon prayer, and the people around him looked aghast at him. They said, "What? How can you possibly go and pray to God amidst all this squalor and misery? And look what God has done for us, it allows us to happen. How can you go and pray to God?" So he turned to them and he answered. He said, "Look, I don't know what God is up to. I don't know what God's plans are. I have no idea at all. If I did, I'd be God. But I know one thing. I have to daven mincha. That's my job. God has his job to do, and I have my job to do. And therefore, I'm going to stand up right now and do what I have to do. And my friends, that's really what we all have to do as well. We can't figure this out. We don't know why this terrible pandemic is happening, why so many people have died and got sick. We have no idea what this is happening. And it's so easy to blame God for it. So easy. But it's up to God. We have no idea why God is doing it. All we know is that we have to stand up and daven mincha. We need to go ahead and we have to act and do what we have to do. That's all what we have to do. And I know, in fact, that when this thing is over, and God willing, it should be over soon, in a blink of an eye, it should be over, then we will all resume back to our normal, comfortable, safe lifestyle. But until then, we completely are at God's hands. And we should feel comfortable that it's not us. We didn't do anything about it. We're doing the best we can, and we're covering our faces with our masks, and we're keeping our distance from each other, and we're avoiding crowds and doing all of those things. But ultimately, it's up to Hashem. It's up to God. And God willing, everything will be fine. Let's have faith in God, and God will take care of us as he always has in the past. I would like to mention that we now have a minyan for Mincha and Marav every evening. This week in San Diego, it's at 7:45. We'll be davening every morning at 6:30 in the morning. I'd like to encourage you, if you can, to come. We are not pushing people to come. We're not making phone calls so much for people to come, but it's really up to you. If you'd like to, we'd love for you to join us. We've been having a minyan practically every day during this time. I would like to encourage you also. Also, of course, our kollel is in full force from 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock every day. I am giving a class now every Thursday from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock at the synagogue. The topic is the sichos, the conversations or the talks of the Rebbe that he used to give during Shabbosim and other time. Very interesting talks which cover a gamut of different topics. We'd like to encourage you to come for it, 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock on Thursday. I'd also like to mention that now it's membership season in the synagogue. I'd like to encourage you to pay your membership dues, either all at once or throughout the year. We depend on your membership dues to keep us going. Shalom and have a good week, and we'll speak to you later on in the week. Bye-bye.